This is Hannibal here from thehannibaltv.com, live with none other than Sir Mo from Men on a Mission, who since WWE has now got into not only the wrestling training business, but also the wrestling promoting business. How are you doing today, Sir
Hey,
Mo?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me here.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for inviting me to your event tonight. Do you want to tell people a little bit about what you're doing these days?
Well, tonight we're in Dallas, Texas at the Elks Lodge. SOAR Championship Wrestling is one of three different promotions that I produce, along with CKW Championship Wrestling in Little Rock, Arkansas, and Southern Extreme Wrestling in Memphis, Tennessee. Tonight at Dallas Elks Lodge, bell time 7:30 p.m. Just our normal monthly show that we've been doing here at this location about 5 years, and we're excited to be able to continue to do this.
Now, when you left WWE, did you get right into training people, or did you do other stuff?
So initially, when I left WWE, the plan was to wait our 90-day no compete clause out and then go to WCW. But the day before the 90-day clause ran out, Scott Hall and Kevin Nash showed up in WCW, and all of those plans to go there were a wash.
That's right, because I remember a rumor that at one point it was going to be Mabel that was going to be the other NWO member.
Yeah. I never had conversations. I never had conversations with anyone there. Everything was through Nelson, but apparently the idea was to go there, and then that fell apart. And then once that fell apart, I started training people the rest.
I see. And how did you yourself get started in the business?
Gene Anderson and Minnesota Record Crew had a school there in Monroe, North Carolina, and I met him at an indie show, and I joined the school. That was the summer of 1990, and then I met Nelson, King Mabel, about 2 months later, and I guess the rest, as you know, between he and I and the Men on the Mission characters is history.
How did Gene Anderson treat you? Because he's a bit of a controversial character.
Well, Gene was tough, man. Gene was tough, no nonsense. Gene felt like if you could take a bump on the concrete floor, you could take a bump anywhere. And we literally had to do that a few times. And his training method was kind of hard, but it was no nonsense. And if you weren't dedicated to it, he wouldn't waste his time.
Did he ever stretch you?
No. I think at that time, Gene's health was so poor that, most of his students at the time did the training. He didn't do anything inside the ring.
Now, Jacques Rougeau was one of my trainers. What was it like working with the Quebecers in WWE?
Oh, I learned so much working with Jacques and Pierre, man. In fact, I spoke with Carl like 3 weeks ago. We're still pretty tight. Jacques and Nelson had a really tight friendship because they would gamble with each other all the time. So it made for fun road trips with Jacques and Pierre.
How was the backstage politics back in those days? Because we always hear the clique was running rampant.
Well, I only had issues with the clique, or one member of the clique, Shawn Michaels, one time. But other than that, man, they never really bothered myself and Nelson. I remember when they had issues with Jacob and Eli Blue. I remember when they had issues with Shane Douglas. But as far as Nelson, I had that one incident with Shawn Michaels where he and I almost got into a fight. But other than that, I didn't have any problems.
I got to ask you about that incident. Did you bring it up? What happened there?
Well, so it's funny because I didn't understand until a few years ago exactly where Shawn Michaels was coming from. But on this particular night, we were in Israel, and Nelson got sick, And so they sent him back to the hotel. And so instead of being able to work a tag match with the head shrinkers, myself and Samu had to work a singles match. Well, Fatu was upset. Shawn Michaels was pissed off because he felt like Nelson should have, at the very least, walked down to the ring, stood ringside, and we still have a tag match. You know, that way, back in the day, if you didn't work, you didn't get paid. So everybody earned the payoff that night. And he came out of the shower. We were standing there in the dressing room and basically assaulted me. And we had words. I basically threatened to kick his ass if he ever touched me again. So that basically is what happened. I ended up getting, I guess, starved for 9 months is what they call it. And then right after that, Nelson and I went to a little short program with Shawn and Kevin Nash. But all of that stuff, I was so pissed off about all that stuff. I didn't even realize that a year after it happened, it was over.
Now, Oscar was your manager. Is it true they just basically found him in the crowd?
Well, actually what happened was it was WrestleMania 9 at Las Vegas. Oscar's a freestyle rapper, and he was doing the opening act for Andrew Dice Clay. He met Vince McMahon, Jerry the King Lawler, and Macho Man Randy Savage when they were doing WrestleMania 9 at Caesar's Palace. He met him in the elevator, and he did a freestyle rap for him, and that's how they discovered Oscar.
I see. Did he have any heat or ribs played on him ever, since he wasn't really trained wrestler?
They physically abused Oscar. One time on his birthday in Florida, they beat him with some type of board or something, and they beat him really bad. And then one time, I think we were in Michigan or Wisconsin or something, they all taped him to the urinal, ripped his clothes off, and covered him with shaving cream or something like that. But yeah, they pretty abused him. Yeah, they abused him.
Who found him when he was taped to the urinal?
Well, Nelson and I, found him, but they abused him that night. I think they did everything, man. I think they pissed on him, covered him with shaving cream. They had him taped to that urinal, man. Closed down. But he was. The beautiful thing about Oscar was he would just shake that stuff off and laugh it off, and he wouldn't make waves. He just okay. He knew that he was in a hostile environment.
And is it true that there was an original Nation of Domination in the USWA that you were a part of?
There was a version of that. I don't know. I would be the person to say that it was the original version, but I know that Jamie and Wolfie D, a PG-13, were part of the original version. And so they were also part of the version in Memphis, along with myself, Tracy Smothers, Reggie B. Fine, Miss Texas or Miss Jacqueline was a part of it. It's Queen Moesha. So, I was part of that version. I don't know if that was the original version, but I was a part of that.
Reggie B. Fine is an interesting character. Are you still friends with him?
I actually just saw Reggie about 4 weeks ago at a show in Memphis, Tennessee. Reggie is well, you did an interview with Reggie, so you know how Reggie is.
Yeah, I actually like him, but he's a controversial guy to say the least.
He's very controversial.
When they brought Nelson back in as Viscera, was there ever any talk of bringing you in?
You know what? When I left there in 1996, after suffering depression and a suicide attempt, I told myself I would never go back. So I never attempted to go back. When Nelson went back, there was a discussion between, from what I'm told, this is hearsay, but from what I'm told about another talent's wife who I was best friends with, that there was a discussion between Vince and one of the top talent about bringing them back, and that top talent said to Vince, if it helps the company, then I'm okay with it. You know what I mean? But I won't work. And so they brought him in. He did the thing with Ken Shamrock. That was like that King of the Ring thing. And everything went well. And so they brought him back. And I'm glad he was able to go back get another opportunity.
What were your thoughts when he unfortunately passed away suddenly?
It was crazy, man, because I had just talked to him the night before, and we had just had a conversation about there was a lot of stuff that we hadn't done that we still needed to do, that we still needed to prove to people that we were one of the best tag teams in the business, you know. And that's why I try to keep his name alive right now. One of the things about I really don't like to do podcasts, but this is one that I really wanted to do because I wanted to set the record straight on a couple of things. Number one, I learned a lot from that incident with Shawn Michaels, and I was pissed off at him for a long time because I didn't understand, but I learned from it. And what I learned from it helps me teach my students today, helps me be a better coach. But number two, Nelson Fraser was probably one of the most talented big men in the business. And the only thing people talk about is 3 or 4 people that got hurt in the ring when they was wrestling against Nelson. Now, what they don't talk about is that Nelson at the time was 18, 19, 20-year-old kid that nobody took under their arm to mentor. No, other than wrestling training, you know, him and I, after Gene passed away, working out with each other, we never had mentors. So nobody ever said, hey, kid, come here and let me teach you this. Hey, kid, if this situation right here happens, here's how you deal with that. He never got that, and, so people, the only thing they want to remember about Nelson is that he hurt people. Yeah, he hurt 4 or 5 people, you know what I mean? But that doesn't describe the talented person he was or the decent person that he was. The guy was a beautiful person. He was young. Everybody in this business has hurt somebody at one point in time. You know what I mean? And I just don't want his legacy and people that come now. The only thing that they hear is, yeah, I heard how he hurt a bunch of people. No, he hurt 5 people in the span of having a job up there 8, 9 years. I mean, 5 people in 8 or 9 years. I've seen where Vader's hurt 5 people in a year working at WCW. So, it might piss people off, but, no, Nelson was a great person.
Ahmed Johnson probably hurt a lot more people than that, too.
I'm pretty sure.
Do you think that Men on a Mission will ever be in the WWE Hall of Fame?
I think that Nelson died. Last conversation we had, I think that Nelson died wanting that to happen. I don't know with today's atmosphere with politics or what. I think we deserve it because, there's a lot of people in the Hall of Fame for whatever reason, but we did do something. We did do something legendary, being the second Black African American tag team to win those WWF tag team belts. That in itself should be enough.
Now, you became Sir Mo when, of course, it was King Mabel. Any thoughts on that gimmick transformation?
I enjoy the whole being able to dress up and go ringside and be a manager. I wish that they had given me more speaking parts because I'm a really good speaker. But I enjoy that, and that's why I keep the name today. I've used that name since they gave it to me, and still today, 30 years being in the business, I still use that name.
Did they ever do anything about that fan that hit Mabel with the trash at the King of the Ring?
No, actually, it was just we loved it because we felt like when we got pummeled with all that trash at the King of the Ring '95, we felt like, man, this is some real heat. You know what I mean? Because we hadn't seen anybody in a long time just get pelted with trash and garbage from the fans. I don't know if it was because they hated us that much or if they hated the fact that Nelson won the King of the Ring. But in either case, we pissed the world off and we were enjoying it.
What advice would you give heels out there watching as a trainer for being a heel?
Honestly, man, I would say be aggressive. Don't waste time yelling and screaming at fans. Piss them off by the work that you do in the ring. You don't have to stay. I mean, it's easy to yell at somebody and cuss them out, and they yell back at you and call you an asshole or something. But when you can have somebody on the front row want to climb that rail and come in there and kill you because you're killing their hero in the ring, that's when you're doing a great job as a heel.
Did you have much interaction with Sonny backstage?
Me interaction with Sonny. I'll say this. The last time Sonny and I had a conversation, because I was the first person that knew about Sonny and Shawn Michaels' relationship. The last time Sonny and I had a conversation, Sonny said, bro, you know you could have been the Intercontinental Champion. You could have had any belt you wanted to if you'd have just used the fact that me and Shawn was sneaking behind everybody's back. Yeah, I had conversations with her. I had interactions with her. I knew about her and Shawn Michaels long before anybody else other than the Clique.
How did you know?
Well, because I walked in on them several times, and I walked in on them several times, and I remember there was one time in San Jose where Chris Candido, Just Incredible, and somebody else were sitting in the lobby with Sonny, and I was in my hotel room. The back, it was like a balcony circle in San Jose, and I was on the balcony in my room, and across the way on the other side was Shawn Michaels' room. Kevin Nash's room was right across, and I sat there and I watched Sonny leave the table with Chris Candido, get on the elevator, go upstairs, and sneak in the Shawn Michaels' room, and him look across at me and go, and I'm like, no, I didn't see it, but I saw a whole lot of their stuff, man. So it was just I saw that stuff, and I probably could have snitched it off because many times I sat with Chris as he was heartbroken, because I was a lot of free time, and I sat with Chris many times. He was heartbroken over what was going on, but I couldn't bring myself to tell him what was going on. So.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Some people say that he actually knew about it and liked it, but you're saying that he probably wasn't happy about it.
I know he was unhappy and he was upset. I can't say with 100% certainty that he knew about it at the time that I knew about it, because it was fresh and it was brand new. But I remember many days when he sat around and he was upset, but I can't imagine Chris knowing about it and was just okay with it.
There's a fan on here that wants to know if you have any memories of the WrestleMania 10 European Tour the week after.
Yeah, it was. I think that was. I want to say that was the first time I'd ever gone overseas, and it's crazy, man. Because when you land at the airport, the fans are there, and they follow you all. I mean, we're talking about from one city to the next city. It's like 8 hours, and it's the same fan caravan and following the bus. You have the heels on one bus and baby faces on another bus, and those fans are. It's like the Beatles when WWF come to town. The fans are just crazy, and they follow you from town to town. I enjoyed them European tours.
Now, what does SOAR actually stand for? The initials of your company?
SOAR. So the creator, Denise Jones, she's a Marine, and we would always and I was in the United States Army, so we would always have these conversations about which branch of the service was the best. And of course, you ask many people and they'd say the Marine Corps. And so she came up with the Marine Corps always stands out above the rest. And that's where that SOAR came from. She created it.
There's a fan on here that wants to know what city had the best food when you were touring.
What city had the best food? You know what? It was the first time I'd ever tried it, but I thought it was great. Providence, Rhode Island. I went to this Chinese restaurant, and it was the first time I'd had the cottage cheese rangoon, whatever they call those crispy things with the cottage cheese.
Yeah.
I fell in love with those things. And then the last time that I was there, which was the night the Undertaker got his orbital bone broken, I had some, and the cheese, cream cheese is what it was. The cream cheese was bad, and I got sick. And what used to be my favorite food, I can't even eat it now.
Did you get along well with the Undertaker?
Oh, me and Mark was real tight. Me and Mark was very tight. Very, very tight.
What would people be surprised to know about him?
About Mark?
Yeah.
He's just a normal human being. He's just a normal human being.
There's a fan that wants to know how you liked working with Raven when he was Johnny Polo, managing the Quebecers.
Oh, Scotty was a lot of fun. We actually came to WWF the night Nelson and I tried out. Me, Nelson, and Johnny Polo actually rode in the same rental car, flew on the same plane for a tryout that night together. We all came over from Memphis together. So Johnny Polo was cool. Scott Levy.
Did you travel with Oscar and Mo, or did you travel?
Oscar Mabel?
Yeah. Or sorry, Mabel.
Mabel, me and Mabel lived in the same house. So we traveled everywhere together. Every now and then Oscar would ride with us, but Oscar, being the rapper that he was and had traveled in so many places, he had friends in just about every city. So he pretty much traveled by himself.
Is there any reason why you never appeared in a WWE video game?
I would say this. In 1996 at the Royal Rumble, Nelson and I quit that night and went home, asked for our release. Now, I don't know if I got heat from the company for doing that or not. I don't know. But I've never been denied tickets or anything like that. But I've never been asked to do anything like video games or anything. But also, I've never asked to do anything or ever tried to attempt to go back and get work there, because my experience there when I almost committed suicide was so bad that I didn't want to be tied to a contract and not be able to just do what I wanted to do. So,
did you actually attempt to kill yourself, or you just had the suicidal thoughts?
I was on the last beer with the 9mm cock to my head, and my girlfriend come running out of the apartment because her dog ran away. And I thought to myself, if we don't find this dog, she's gonna kill me. And so, so it took us 3 hours to find that dog. And by the time we found that dog, I tell people all the time, a dog saved my life. But by the time we found that dog, I realized that there was, much worse things in life than not being able to wrestle. So that was the end of that thought.
Any memories of your team Doink going up against Team Bigelow, which everyone remembers?
Man, that was an unexpected surprise. We didn't even know we was on the pay-per-view until we got there and they sent us the makeup. And so we just tried to make that the funnest, goofiest match we could possibly do. And the only thing I regret is that they didn't give me a better scooter to ride.
Gary Nation on here, I guess you must know him. He says, can I ask you about the night in Sam's Town where Kamala was supposed to wrestle Lord Humongous and Kamala left without saying anything and you had to put this guy in there with him instead? Do you remember that?
I have no clue. I know who Gary is. I have no clue what happened. I have no clue.
Any memories of your famous moonsault in your house too?
I remember Nelson and I, Nashville was our hometown. And I remember Nelson and I said that, this is probably going to be the last pay-per-view that we get to wrestle with each other together. So let's just do the craziest thing that we've never tried to do. And so I decided I'd do the moonsault, and he took the big flare bump off the top rope. So I was afraid, but it was like, okay, I'm going to kill myself trying this, but I did it.
How did you get along with Bret Hart backstage?
Backstage?
Yeah.
To this very day, me and Bret Hart are really good friends. to this very day. In fact, I messaged him. I messaged him the other day on March the 23rd, 2 months earlier, saying, "Man, I really miss Owen today. You know what I'm saying? It would have been X number of years this year." And he messaged me back. He said, "Man, I appreciate it. I love that, man, but you're about 2 months too early." I said, man, I'm so sorry. That's crazy."
Did you and Mabel ever go to the recording studio with Oscar?
No.
If you could change one thing about your career, would you have done anything differently?
If I could change one thing about my career, I would have sat down after that incident with Shawn Michaels and thought the whole thing through, and I wouldn't have gave up so easily on everything. I pretty much, when that happened, just gave up on wrestling. But if I could go back and change anything, I'd change that incident.
And where can fans follow you if they want to look you up online?
Bobby Horn on Facebook, the original Sermo on Instagram, and Sermo WWE Superstar on Twitter.
Very good. There's one last fan question I'll ask because it's interesting. Did you have any interactions with Bill Watts when he was in WWE for a while there?
Somebody's trying to set me up. They know I don't like Bill Watts' ass. Yes, I had. Here's the thing. We got up that morning. We were in Detroit. Oscar and Nelson ribbed me by leaving my bag in the parking lot. We drove down to somewhere in Michigan. It was like 3 hours away. We get to the town, and my bag's not in the rental car. I had to get in the car, drive back to Detroit, get my bag, and then drive back to the building. So I missed my television match that night. And then they were going to go over a finish with Kevin Nash and Diesel. And as I was walking in the room with the group, Bill Watts, who was booking at the time, says, "Nah, he don't need to be in the room. He's not part of this. He's expendable, so we can do this without him." And I wanted to look at him and say, "You cocksucker, I can't fucking," and I just turned my back, walked away. I went to J.J. Dillon and said, "I can't believe that he, talked to me like that. I really want to go in there and punch him in his face." And J.J. just said, "Just calm down. Next time you see Vince, just explain to Vince that he talked to you like that." And that was it. But I couldn't stand Bill Watts. I couldn't.
Luckily, he didn't last there.
Thank God. Thank God. I'm glad he didn't get hit by that truck.
Well, very good. I appreciate you talking to me. Hopefully we can do another one when you're not so rushed sometime. But good luck on your show tonight, SOAR. And people can – how often do you run here in Dallas?
We're at the Dallas Elks Lodge every first Saturday of the month. Every third Saturday, we're at Chaotic Kingdom Wrestling in Sherwood, Arkansas. And every fourth Saturday, we're somewhere around Memphis, Tennessee, or Forest City, Arkansas, with Southern Extreme Wrestling. All three of those promotions are part of the OIWA, which I founded in 2020.
And if they want to join the school, where can they look up information?
BumpsandBruisesPro.com.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV. Please like this video.